The next popular question that I often receive is, then what do you do to boost your engagement? When you are obviously creating, you're pouring so much of your time and investment into it, you want your message to reach as many people as possible. And that then boils down to the format of content. The truth is, there are formats that have been proven algorithmically to work. And that's when you really have to get into the granular studying of other successful creators and how they have their own outliers. We do this very intensely inside of our VIP cohorts. We actually give them a 7x7 framework where they'll actually study each of the content pieces, because you're looking at everything from cadence to hooks to story arc to the ratio between B-roll and text. You're looking at everything from duration of video. You're looking at everything in regards to the natural progression of a call to action. And you're looking at all of those components individually in each of the successful videos. And you start to realize, wow, there are these common threads that I'm finding across talking head videos, across narrative content, across silent film content. And one of those really popular ways that people tend to do this first is what I'm going to walk you through right now. And that's the use of trends. Now, when I say the word trends, I either get one group that says, yeah, love trends. I only post trends. And then there's another group that thinks, I don't want to post trends because it feels gimmicky. And I hope to land you somewhere in the middle where you can absolutely leverage trends to build a brand. But also simultaneously, you don't want to just copy and paste a trend because that could hurt your brand authority. So I'm going to show you some examples and walk you through why I believe certain formats that we can then replicate with your own content messaging and your personal brand integrated. That's where I believe successful content resides. And then I'll show you other ones where I feel that it's almost hurt their brand. So let's go over example number one. And this, I believe everyone can recognize this example, right? This is Ashton Hall. He had these routine videos and it has absolutely taken off. And I've enjoyed seeing them. I'm sure you guys have seen them as well. So I'm just going to play one of these videos and then I'll speak to what had been derived from his popular trend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I don't move, but it's
Oh, we got a crowd.
So I'm sure you've seen these videos, right? And this morning routine may not have been one of the extreme ones, but there's ones in which he's waking up at 4:30 a.m. He's doing a dive into the pool and there's like a 4-minute change that happens. And that became then a spark of curiosity for a lot of people, asking him, what does he actually do for a living in terms of, is this real? And then what you start to recognize is as he did it more extremely, because he's trying to garner attention for his brand, there was often then parodies of it. Parodies meaning they took this content and did it for themselves, and they also positioned it to be an extreme in order for them to garner the engagement. But their engagement, in my opinion, was not the right type. So here, they're looking for laughs. They're looking to actually make fun of this routine. And I will show you a very specific example of it and why I believe it was actually hurtful for the brand.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we got to do at least 100,000 or else this whole
Medication is called.
I need you to lock in. We got to make at least 10,000.
And this was definitely one of the most tame parodies that I could find, but you have to question what happens when you try to copy and paste trends like this. When those eyeballs do come onto your page, what's the point? Because then because I believe he's a coach, what would happen then if he tries to sell a service on the back skirts of those individuals that came in for this type of content? They're not going to take it seriously, right? they're going to think, wow, this is so different from what I thought your content was for. I thought your content was all about jokes and memes. And that's where you run into issues. And again, this is one of the more tame versions of it. And I believe if he went away from this rather quickly, he would have no problem actually building the right audience. But there are other creators that double down on this. And because I don't want to necessarily call them out, I'm leaving it out of this video. But they literally built an audience. They're 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 followers that had come in for these parodies, and they make it more and more and more and more extreme to just entertain their audience. But why? Why do that if it's not meaningful for the brand? It's one thing if you do create those types of content and you do want to just be a meme page, that's different. But if you do want to establish a meaningful personal brand that can then deliver upon a product on the back skirts of it and actually secure different brand deals, right? So that brands have to take you seriously. Then you have to position yourself better. So then I'm going to show you another example that I think utilized this trend so effectively and still kept their brand authority.
In the same amount of time it takes Ashton Hall to dive into a pool, bro, you could do a comprehensive warm-up for your next leg day to loosen up your hips. You don't need any mouth tape, ice, or bananas. Thank you. All you need are 4 minutes to prime your hips for some challenging lifts. First up, do the couch stretch for 30 seconds on each side to loosen up your...
So you're seeing everything that's being emulated from the parodies, right? And also Ashton Hall's original videos. You see the time markers. You see it positioned in the exact same place. You see him putting his face in the bowl initially, or he's about to. You see the banana. You see them getting it delivered. You see him saying thank you. And he is referring to that familiar format so that when people see it, they're intrigued.
Your quads and hip flexors. Next, grab onto a pole and do some assisted Cossack squats to target your adductors for 60 seconds total. Then grab an incline bench to do some pigeon stretches off of to mobilize your hip external rotators for 30 seconds aside. Finally, do an inchworm and transition to a Spider-Man lunge on each side for 60 seconds total. And that's all. Take 4 minutes out of your morning routine to do this, and you'll be ready to lift anything.
Brilliant, right? That is so smart. What he's doing is he's using this familiar format to bring in the eyeballs, but then he's leading them into his actual brand messaging as a PT. And that is really effective use of a trend versus what you saw from like 99% of the other creators that actually used Ashton Halls as simply a parody. And when you're so good at this, and you will find that there are certain creators, as you go about studying creators now in different industries, there are certain individuals like him and his own that sets the bar. Then everyone else follows him because they're like, oh, wow, that was such a smart way of using that trend. And there's a reason why this video blew up. So look at this. This was posted on March 29th. This is posted on March 30th. Watch this.
If you need a morning routine you can actually follow, then try this 5-minute mobility flow. Start with 1 minute of high cobra looking over each shoulder, then 1 minute of world's greatest stretch alternating each side. You're then going to do a pigeon stretch for 30 seconds on each leg before hitting a downward dog and cycling through the calves for 1 minute. Finish with a child's pose, reaching the arms over to each side for 1 minute, and it's job done.
And I believe he gives Jason credit, right? So that whole experience of utilizing a format that's familiar, but then actually encompassing your brand in one full video so you garner the attention, but the attention is meaningful. So then when this guy or Jason posts a video where they're selling their coaching or their app or their programs, people don't look at him like he's a clown or look at him like he's foolish, right? They look at him and they take him seriously because they're so smart. And that's the way that you can actually leverage trends the right way. So if you want to boost engagement, look, I want you to study a ton of various formats. I want you to look at narrative talking heads. I want you to look at silent film content. I want you to look at A-roll plus B-roll. And you can do that in a 7x7 framework. So find 7 incredibly powerful creators and find 7 of their outliers. But with trends, their very first good look at what I mean of how to actually use formats. You just saw that. You saw the comment threads across them. Similar props, similar movements, similar time positioning in terms of on screen, similar exaggeration, similar dramatic aspects. And that is how you look at formats and you're able to make them yours with your own creative vision, right? So if I was to sit down with Jason and I looked at his creative vision, he's basically taking those endless winning ideas and combining it with this format that is working algorithmically. And that's why he's getting a successful video that not only garners attention, but brings the right eyeballs onto his page. Now I want to show you a few more examples. So for me, I kept seeing this format in the nutrition and also the fashion industries. It's called This or That. Basically a split screen where you have one scenario, but two different perspectives on it. And I'll explain. So I kept seeing this type of format. It had absolutely dominated. Again, I believe it was fashion, then it went to nutrition, but no one was doing this for the content space, right? And if I needed more eyeballs for the personal branding realm in that audience, it is a good idea for me to find trending formats and incorporate that into my content for my creative vision, right? So I'll show you exactly how I've done this. I don't have any equipment.
I also don't have any equipment, but my phone should do.
I just worry people will judge me.
Yeah, I also actually worry about that, so
I do not have time to make content.
I'm also really busy.
My video only got 200 views?
Imagine speaking to 200 people in one room. That's insane.
I don't know how to create content.
I know how to create content.
You can hopefully see the This or That format, but implementing it for something that actually means a big meaningful part to the brand that I'm building, right? So if I go into view insights here, for some reason, it looks like Instagram is down on the web version, but looking at my phone, it will have a screenshot of it up. This video alone had 268,000 likes, 52,000 saves, 35,000 shares, 715 comments, and 52,000 new followers. And it total had about 7.6 million views. That's what happens when you utilize popular formats, and you can actually combine that with your own creative vision so that attention is meaningful for your brand. Here's another example, and this is another wonderful creator that had done a fantastic version of this idea of all or nothing concept, and she does a good job demonstrating for the fitness industry. So again, the premise was, I don't see anyone doing it for the content creation space. Now there's a ton of people that do it for the content creation space, but I was inspired by her, and her name's Kelsey. So after I seen that, I was like, okay, great. Let me combine this for my own creative vision and watch how this format came to life. Again, the whole premise that I am trying to showcase to you is that there's one thing to copying and pasting a trend just to copy and paste it, but you have to think 3 steps ahead, right? When that audience member comes onto your page, if they find it meaningful, right? If you're providing value in it, which may be unlikely if you're just copying and pasting a trend, and then they do follow, what weight does that follow actually have to the longevity of your brand? If it's nothing, if they're coming in for the wrong reasons, I'd rather have you reserve that real estate or that post for a different piece of content, right? This is a good way of you bringing the right eyeballs. So we're doing these posts ahead of the Creative College launch. Why? Because we need more people to actually be in love with the idea of personal branding and to actually attract those groups so that when we launch Creative College, that it can be an exciting experience for that audience. Here's my final example.
Very good.
Yeah? And yours? You did that?
Yeah, just this morning.
Fuck off.
What?
You did not paint that this morning.
Yes, I did.
You did not paint that this morning.
I did.
This was a very popular trend that was blowing up on TikTok, and it was usually for people that were graduating a degree. So then I took it for the content creation space and did this.
Very good.
Yeah? And yours? You did that?
Yeah, just this morning.
Fuck off.
What?
You did not paint that this morning.
Yes, I did.
You did not paint that this morning.
I did.
I don't believe you.
You drew the pineapple.
My pineapple is shit.
Well, it just needs a bit of shading.
Oh, shut up.
So again, what I want to get clear to you is that when you're looking at how to boost your engagement, recognize that there are formats of content that are algorithmically favorable, meaning that it's been proven. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Trends are the tip of the iceberg for what this actually looks like, right? If you are regularly studying content and finding these different formats, again, we do this with 49 pieces of content, and I sit there and review every single person's in week 2 because of how powerful it really is in our VIP cohort. So these students sit down, and these are really incredibly successful creators and business owners that will sit down with me and start to completely change the way that they view content. Because the moment you start to recognize formats, the moment you start to recognize cadence, ratios between the B-roll and text, between how long silent film contents are to be successful, what they have for their hooks, are they visual, are they dynamically shot, or are they still shots? What is the duration of the entire video versus what is the duration of each B-roll? And that comparison, and you start to study content, you're like, wow, I can't believe that out of 49 videos, 32 of them had a similar format. And it's because these really smart creators view content differently than you are as a consumer. Once you start creating content, start recognizing these formats, it is the unlock to actually boosting your engagement on a consistent level. Because then all you have to do as a creator on a regular basis is look at the creator vision, find the endless winning ideas that fit underneath your umbrella as a personal brand, and combine that with formats that you find in your library, your evergreen reservoir of inspiration is what I call it. It's the 7x7. And in combination, you have constantly good content that will also be optimized for engagement.